If you are a woman in her 60s and beyond, you know that the internet cannot decide whether to venerate us or use us as clickbait. And today, that's what we're going to talk about. So let's get into it. Hi, welcome back to Salty at 60. It is undeniable that many style and content creators are using mature women over 60 as clickbait. And they have one theme in common, all of these thumbnails we see on YouTube, and it is that you look old. This type of content is playing on a very real fear that many women have of aging and becoming irrelevant. And I like and follow and subscribe to many of these content creators that I have been showing you up here. They, I believe, have good intentions and they truly want to help women feel their best. But these women are also the ones I'm seeing, for the most part, are not over 60 themselves. So there's a few nuances that are missing from the conversation, and that's what I want to talk about today. So what I want to do in this video is really just expand on the conversation about, mature women becoming clickbait, and talking about some of the assumptions that many content creators may have about us mature women, and maybe give them a little different point of view on what to consider and think about when they do content for older women or women they're trying to help find their style. And so this is not meant to pick on any of these content creators. As I said, I like and follow many of them. It's just, I think, a good time in this space for women over 60 to talk about it. The other thing that I should mention is that many of the content creators that I popped up here at the beginning of the video and showed you, not all of them, of course, a lot of them are, a little bit older, but most of these content creators are at least 20 years my junior. And so you have to take that in mind when you are listening to their advice. And here's why. Because first off, I think that many of the ones that have, it depends on their age or what may be happening with their body. But either way, you don't reach your 40s or even your late 30s thinking that, you start having those little moments of self-perception when you feel like, wow, I'm really not young anymore. You are moving into that middle half of your life, and it can be a little disconcerting. And so I have a lot of sympathy for that, because I think that if you are a woman over 60, you went through that. I went through that. It was just like, it seems like overnight, although it isn't. It's just that you have these moments of clarity and you realize, my life has changed so much. It may be your energy level. It may be hormones. You may be going through menopause, perimenopause. There's lots of reasons why you would have these moments of self-perception. And what's behind these moments of self-perception is fear. Fear of aging. Fear of looking older, irrelevant, or not fitting in anymore, and worrying about how others perceive us. That being said, it's also a reason why a lot of women that may get into that 40 to 50 age group do feel like they have just come up for air, looked around and realized, I don't know how to dress anymore. I don't know how to dress my new body anymore. I don't know what my roles are. And they choose to take an off-ramp so that they can kind of sort that out, sort through those emotions, sort through what's happening in their life. And it's not just the body that we're going through, the aging that we can physically see. Our roles can also be changing. Well, they more than likely are. We usually, change every decade into, we're always morphing into that next step of who we will be. So I give a lot of grace to those women who do want to take an off-ramp. They have to have time to figure it out. And then let's just get this out of the way. The other assumption is that some of these older women care about, or should care about, how they look, what their presentation is to the world, or what younger people think about them. It's not an age thing. It is not a maturity thing. I cannot tell you how many times I look around, no matter where I go, what I'm doing, I see some of the most give up, out of style outfits that 20 something and even early 30 women are wearing. So it's not particularly or necessarily an age thing. So let's just get that out of the way. Mature women are constantly being told, either by, fashion editorials, a stylist, social media, how we should, how we shouldn't dress. And it's really quite overwhelming, but here's what I need you to know. If you are a woman over 60, you have more than likely slavishly followed so many trends throughout the decades and throughout your life. And there does come a point where you just get tired of the trends. You're tired of, well, I shouldn't say tired of. What I should say is you should know a little bit more about yourself, what you like, what you don't like, what looks good on you, what doesn't look good on you. And that's not to say that we don't evolve and we continually try to tweak that. That's what I do here on this channel. Every week that I put out a video, I am doing that for myself, and that's part of my backstory. However, we have reached a point where we know enough about ourselves to what we do not want, and that makes that has a lot of weight on how we wish to present ourselves to the world. And part of this, telling older women how they should look and how they should be dressing, here is the theme that I see over and over again that is just wrong advice. I hear things on, how do you want to look? You want to look elegant. You want to look elevated. You want to look polished. You want to look put together. And there's nothing wrong with those goals, and many older women do wish to dress that way. However, this is not how we should be thinking about how older women should be dressing. Just like women of any age, we should be dressing for the lifestyle we have, our personal style, what we find comfortable, and how we want to appear in the world. Now, that is not to say that we should just give up on following trends. And more than likely, if you're watching this or you've been consuming this type of content like myself, you're already interested in fashion and in style. And like anyone who has had a chance to, play in that world, develop their own personal style, you do get to a point where you understand that you don't have to participate in everything, even though it's a trend. Because I love doing my trend videos. I think they're so much fun. And I do want to stay current to the degree that I can without maybe compromising, what my personal style is. So, there's going to be many years where what is my personal style isn't what's trending. It's not what people are buying. It's not what the retailers are putting out in the high street. It's just not there or available for us. So that's why it's important. And many mature women already have figured this out. So let's give mature women a little bit of grace, that they don't have to be some elegant, older, mature woman that has to age with grace. You may be a woman who wants to be in the garden every day, doing some sort of down and dirty, do-it-yourself DIY projects. That just may not be your vibe and what you want to do in this stage in life. And I think that content creators need to think about that before they start telling older women who, for the first time in their life maybe, have gotten to a place where they can do what they want. Because hopefully, as we age, our schedule becomes more about, picking up those hobbies and doing those things that we may have never had time to do. So, okay, my next point is I want to talk about generational wars. Generational wars in the style and fashion and beauty arena has been around forever. And I am seeing that now as being, part of the generation that I am part of. And although I don't want to say never, but I hardly ever watched content creators who do beauty, whether they're my age or in my age group or they're younger. But there is this one content creator. She's a beauty content creator that I really, really enjoy. And I wanted to mention her video and give her a shout out. Her name is Kelly Gooch. And she professed in that particular video that she's 32 years old. And I thought it was interesting that she was talking about how Gen Z has been really coming after the millennials. And, my children are older millennials. So I do understand how, as they're starting to reach their 40s, how this must feel to them to be all of a sudden they're the target of what's in and out of style. But she made some really good points in that video. She talked about how, like right now, there's all this emphasis in the beauty world of, the skin, the blush, and the lip. And there's she talked about and discussed why people are no longer wearing eyeliner. They've forgone mascara. You don't see made up colorful eyes anymore. And I just thought it was really interesting, and it was a great reminder to me, and should be for you, that, everything does have a cycle. Everything comes in fashion, goes out of fashion. if there's simple tweaks we can make to look a little more modern, I'm all for that. And then let's talk about what's happening in the hair world. We are often told that, this particular haircut makes us look old, or if you have long hair, you have to cut it off. But that is really, again, no nuance to that, because, the hairstyle that you choose to wear, again, should fit your lifestyle. Should it, work with your hair, not against your hair. And it should just be a personal decision. Again, you should not wake up every day worrying about, does this make me look older? Now, I will give you this. If you see the helmet hair, and I see a lot of it out in the wild, in some mature women, it does look very, very dated. So I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about you slavishly doing your hair in a way that maybe you don't even really want to wear it that way, but you've been told it makes you look younger. So that was the point that I was trying to make. But yes, there are certain makeup styles and there are certain hairstyles that can age us, just because I think that we should change and move along with the decades a little more than we do with things like our personal style and our clothing, because that, changes a lot more often. But if you are still wearing the same hairstyle that you wore 30-something years ago, you might really want to rethink that, because it can age you. So I give these content creators a pass on that sort of thing. And then also in the beauty world, you see what I call the gray wars. Should I go gray? Should I not go gray? And I can remember, like, when I was in my 30s saying, I'll never go gray, ever, ever, ever. But my mindset changed when I got into my 40s. I actually wanted to go gray and was talked out of it. And when I went back to dyeing my hair, everybody told me, oh, you look so much younger, you look so much better. And then by the time I rolled into my 50s, I was so over dyeing my hair. And this was my personal choice. I wanted to age more authentically. And I'm not saying if you dye your hair, you're not aging authentically. It just, for me, no longer felt right. And I wanted to stop dyeing my hair. And it has, in my estimation, become much easier to go gray in society, because whether you're in the working world or not, because there is a lot more women that I see going gray. And maybe that's a regional thing. I will tell you, when I was living in the South, I've seen very few older women going gray. They continued to dye their hair. Where I live now in the Mid-Atlantic, almost everyone my age is no longer dyeing their hair. And so it's easier for me to feel more comfortable with that, and great, because I'm not going to change my decision this time. I've been growing out this mop of mine for quite some time, and I still don't have all the dye out, and we're a little over 2 years into it. So, it is a process, but I wanted to mention that the generational wars on how you choose to age is important to think about when you are making content for mature women. All right, next up, I wanted to talk a little bit about social media, procedures and aging, and what is happening, and that I am seeing for myself, a very hopeful trend, but it is a trend whether or not you agree with it. There is a lot of conversations going on right now about women who have done a lot of procedures, have a lot of fillers to their face, particularly those women that are in the like the acting sphere. You go and see them in the movies and they can't emote correctly because they have so much filler in their face. And there's a big backlash about that. And there's also, been a lot of talk about that this generation coming up behind us does not know what aging really truly looks like, because they always see women with filters on, with procedures done, with facelifts done. I mean, I believe it was the Kardashian mom, and she's been all over the media because of her facelift falling. And, and of course, Madonna, her look is, derided, really. But it's this, I do at least understand for the Chers, the Madonnas, and even the Kardashian, Kris, I could not remember her name. I can kind of understand that, because they are in sort of that Hollywood type world, and a lot of their currency is about what they look like. However, I personally believe there should come a time when you accept that you have aged out, because honestly, doing something to your face is not going to make people think that you are younger. It's just, that's never going to happen, because, you know, aging is a lot more than just what our face looks like. It's a lot more than our lines, our laugh lines, our wrinkles, our age spots. Those telltale signs show up in our hands, on our skin, our arms, our legs. It just shows up that we're aging, and there's nothing at all wrong with that. So I just feel like just focusing on the face and, you know, doing a lot of procedures to your body when you're, you know, I can see the temptation when you get into your 40s and 50s, because maybe perhaps if I was a wealthy person, I may have done it myself, who knows. But I'm seeing a lot of backlash towards that now, that people want to see people authentically age. And I think that that's an interesting take on where the culture may or may not be going. We have also seen a lot of women on YouTube, and I think even on TikTok, who are going in and dissolving a lot of their face fillers, and you know, all the buzz and the talk around about that. But I just thought it was interesting to me to take the time to do a little video about what I'm seeing on the internet aimed at us mature women, and how we may, if it makes you feel bad, that you may want to, you know, hopefully this video helped you how to think about how you should really be thinking, and that, you know, there is a difference between the IRL life and the real living life. And I want to encourage everybody today who is 60 and older to, you know, wear what you want. Wear what looks good on you. If you are a woman who follows style and fashion, you're already halfway there, because as I said earlier, there's so many younger women, they don't care what they look like. And there's also been buzz talk about that as well, is about the way people dress in public spaces. So I think if you are a mature woman and you are watching this video, you are in my camp. You are one of my salties over 60s. And again, I'm not picking on these content creators that I talked about in this video, because I think it comes from a good place, and maybe some of their own insecurities. But anyway, thank you for watching me today, and I will see you in the next video.